Morning, guys. I've got another little spider friend building on the back deck, and I'm gonna have to relocate it because I'm trying my best to keep them off the back deck since I've redone it. The basil is doing well since I split it. We've got some lemon thyme right there, and this is a new addition, and I'm sorry if the sun is terrible. These are plant rescues. You see how some of it's like really dead, but they have these really pretty vines. This is honey, or no, not honey, lemon mint, and it smells amazing, and you can make tea out of it. And I loved how the things dangled, and I thought that it was gorgeous for like a railing. And so, I mean, obviously the plants are still alive, and really mint is hard to kill, and I wasn't going to turn that loose anywhere in my actual garden, and so I'm hoping I can keep it alive up here for teas. You see, we've got the older one out there push mowing, manual labor. I'm hoping that that's not too loud for you here, but I wanted to show you some of the things before I walk out to the garden that we've been doing out of the garden this year. So we've been getting okra, but we've not been getting enough to really like have a mess of okra to cook. So I've been dehydrating it. I did this last year. Just slice it, throw it in the dehydrator. Mine is a weird dehydrator, and so it only does Celsius. And so I do this at 55 Celsius for about 12 to 18 hours, depending on the thickness of the okra. You want those good and dry and crunchy. They are great to reconstitute into soups. Like, just throw them in, like if you're doing a slow cooker soup, or if you're cooking something on the stove that you're doing really quick, something you can bring to a boil or slow cook, and they will reconstitute perfectly. I had this jar full last winter and used the entire jar. These are strictly from this year so far, and I have more in the dehydrator I need to get out like now. So that's something that we've been doing, or I've been doing. And another thing, like you'll see here, is I've got it rosemary and sage salt. I've been making herbal salts. This is just your standard coarse sea salt, and you do half salt and half of the herb of choice that you're wanting to use. I've got this one that's a combination of oregano, rosemary, sage, and basil, and this has been a favorite. This thing was full, and obviously we've used quite a bit of it, but the rosemary and sage is really tasty, and I don't think I can open it with one hand. Hold on. Here we go. So yeah, there's some of the other things I'm going to show you. But you want to take and put these in a food processor together, grind up the green until the salt like turns green with all the herbs and things that are in it. Like, you can see all those in there. It smells amazing. I wish I could let you guys smell it. But then you toss it in an oven on like the lowest setting that you can get. I think mine's like 200 or like 180. You toss it in the oven for like an hour on some wax, not on parchment paper, not wax paper. Those are not interchangeable. And let it sit in there for like an hour. Stir it occasionally to break up clumps, to get it good and dry, because you want the moisture out of that before you put it up in a jar. And these are a good way to reuse lids. Like, you heard that pop, like this lid's been used before in canning, but you can reuse them for the dried things like this. This is a good way to use jars that may not be safe for actual pressure canning. I think that this one I read was safe for water canning, but not pressure canning. And so I wanted to, make sure. Like, this is another thing that I've been doing this year. This is new this year. The herbal salts are new this year. These are those pole beans that I have on the bean wall, and I will show these to you when I walk out to the garden here in a minute. I'm trying to give Bryce a chance to get away from the garden with the mower before I walk out there. But yeah, this is just your standard pole bean. I cannot remember the actual name of it, but it's the one that you buy at like Lowe's and Home Depot. But if you look at these, I mean, these are really, really similar to pinto beans that you would buy in the store. What I've been doing is, obviously, I planted a lot of beans this year, and I'm just going to turn you around here, and hopefully the lighting is not terrible. But I planted a lot of beans this year. I did 2 rounds of these pole beans. The other round is now putting on. I'll show that to you when we get out there. But this one was the first round, and I've been letting the pods die off until they rattle on the inside. You'll shake them and you can hear them rattling on the inside. And then I pick them and then shell them, put them in the dehydrator for a little bit of time. I just have a tray that goes in the bottom of my dehydrator, and I just, I put them in there for about 6 hours on 30 Celsius, and just kind of walk through every now and then and open it and stir them up to make sure that the beans on the bottom are getting this air circulation that you want. That's just to get like any last little moisture out of that before you put them in one of these jars, because you want to make sure that they're going to be shelf stable through winter. And so I've done this twice now, and that's 2 different harvests off of that, and it's, I've got more out there that I'm going to get, but I've just been letting them dry and pulling them after they dry. And as the plants die off, like when I get my last harvest off of that, I'll pull those off, and then that's going to give me the space to put my peas in for the fall if I decide to do peas on that fall. So this is something extra I've been doing with the beans. Obviously, I've been canning them, pickling them, freezing them. We've got tons of the noodle beans. I've got another couple of rounds of those started. I'll show those to you as well. But this is something I wanted to try with those pole beans because they are so prolific and they're easy to grow. And this is something that we will be able to make soups with, or just throw them in soups, or make, like pinto beans, throw some pork in there, like, some salt pork or something to season, put them in a slow cooker, and then have them, in the winter when we're looking for something just really hearty to munch on. So this is new to me. We're going to try it this winter. I'm assuming they're going to be great because, people cook, the dried beans all the time and do different types of dried beans. So we'll see. It's an experiment, but I'm excited to use them in a different way because, of course, we were overrun, but I did that on purpose because I did want to try these different things to do with this stuff this year. So here's some other stuff we're working on, or I'm doing right now, and I'm fixing to be making more of. So we are absolutely overrun with the ground cherries right now. I made some ground cherry jam out of it, and you see it's got like, it will move the jelly consistency. This is a jam. I water bath canned this. I didn't want to cook that jam down any further, and I made this jar and like half of another jar because of the amount of ground cherries I had at the time. And so the pectin that I put in there, it wasn't the exact ratio, and that's why it's doing that. But I'm fine with it. This is not something I'm giving as a gift. This is something for myself to put on the shelf. Put the other around that wasn't enough for a full jar in the fridge and used it, and it was amazing. And so I really, really like this. I have a full bowl in the fridge right now of ground cherries. I'm gonna go out and pick more today, and then we'll probably make some more jam. I think I have enough to do 2 or 3 jars this time. So, but those things are super prolific. Now that they're getting huge, they're putting on handfuls and handfuls a day that we are picking up. So that's something that we're working on. And then I'm probably fixing to get really loud. My husband's coming around with a weed eater. These are dried salted tomatoes. Hold on a second. It's gonna get really loud. But we're overrun with cherry tomatoes, and I have been, hold on. I really didn't want to have to take this in the house. He's got his earbuds in. He doesn't realize what I'm doing. You probably can't hear anything. So, we'll let him get down with what he's doing. Yeah. I should have known when I was deciding I'm going to do this video. Almost done. getting around the planters down the side of the house. Okay, hopefully it's not too loud for you to be able to hear me. So, we are overrun with cherry tomatoes, and what I've been doing with those is I have preserved some in oil, in like olive oil in the fridge, but I've been putting them in the dehydrator and dehydrating those down. These are really great in salads, chicken salad, tuna salad, like throw them in. I eat them by the handfuls plain, like just straight up like little chip things. They are so good. But you want to put these in the dehydrator. I put them at 60 Celsius for a good 12 to 18 hours. Some of your thicker ground cherries, or those, you know, those long tomatoes that I've been getting, those are going to be, you know, they're going to take a little longer to dehydrate down. You want to make sure that there's no moisture left in them, and you want to eat these fairly quickly. These don't ever last real long in our house because I eat them like crazy, but they will like go bad faster because tomatoes do have a lot of moisture in them. And so you know, if I leave them in the jar like this, that's why I don't do a real big jar. I eat them super fast. And I swear he's back. I have one more thing to do, and then I was gonna be done with this video. But yeah, basically you just cut these in half, toss some salt over the top or any other seasonings if you want them seasoned differently, and then just throw them in the dehydrator. And this is a good way to preserve those when you're getting overrun with those cherry tomatoes. Now, this is from last year. Like, these are dried cayenne peppers, and I put them in these jars because this is a really handy way to get an air circulation through that. These I put in the dehydrator at like 55-60 Celsius for 12 hours longer. They need to be crispy. But then I chuck these into my canning if I want my green beans to have a little bit of spice. I chuck these into soups if I want them to have a little bit of spice. I have crushed them up and put them in other seasonings, like your crushed red peppers. Super spicy once they get a little dry. Obviously there are spicier peppers out there, but these are ones that I use, and we like the flavors because my husband is not a jalapeno person, like does not like jalapeno anything. Though I am drying slices of jalapenos. That's another thing that I'm doing. I should have brought those out here, but the jar is like half empty because I'm only getting 3 or 4 jalapenos at a time right now because my pepper plants hate me. So, but the cayenne peppers last year, we didn't plant any this year because we are overrun with these. I have several more of these jars put up, and they will hold. This is a year old. These are from last year, and look at their colors. Like, they are still really tasty. It's still really great. I threw one of these in a soup or in some canning just a few weeks ago, and they reconstitute fine. They are perfect. So these are just a few of the things that I have been doing. I mean, just throwing stuff out there that we've been doing as far as preserving, using that dehydrator, using the canners. This is stuff that you're going to be getting out of the garden that you're going to really be able to enjoy throughout the winter. These are some of the things, like I said, I did this last year. This worked wonderfully. I loved this. This is something new that I've learned, new that I'm doing. Did this last year. It was wonderful. Like I said, they lasted, the ones that we didn't eat, they lasted a couple of months in the pantry, but I would eat them. They're better, fresher, like within the first, 3 or 4 weeks that you make these, the tomatoes, they're better that way. These obviously are last year. These are still working wonderfully, and this jam is amazing. We'll definitely be making more of this for gifts and things. So as this is turning into a rather noisy video, I'm sorry guys, I really thought that that would not be an issue, that I would be done before he decided to weed eat, because he usually lets my son get done push mowing before he weed eats so that he can catch all the spots that he misses, because he's 9 and he misses spots when he mows. But apparently he decided to just go ahead and go along behind him. So sorry if it's super noisy. I hope you can hear the information that I put in this. It's not a real long video, but it is an important video because, I mean, when you're gardening, you want to know how to preserve these things. So I hope you guys have a good morning. I'm going to try to take you through the garden, show you the updates and the differences that are going on with things, and also some new additions we're putting in the front. So, but I'll talk to you later. I'll cut this one off. It's super noisy, and I'm so sorry. Bye.